Hi, and welcome to the Jordan Kinda Knows Something show, where I'll be talking about health, fitness, life, and anything else I kinda know something about.
Working Monday to Friday, maybe 9 to 5, maybe is in a relationship, has a family, doesn't necessarily have the time or the means to really get deep into their health and take responsibility for their health and really understand nutrition and exercise and sleep and all of these things. So the idea of like a hack really comes into play for those types of people.
Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome to another episode. I am in such a good mood today because Ariana Grande released Positions, and more importantly, Miss Miley Cyrus just announced that she is releasing her new album November 27th. I am so excited. Oh my God. If you guys know me, you know that Miley Cyrus is my favorite person in the entire freaking world. So I'm just so happy right now that she is releasing her new album finally. It's like something completely new. It's not named She Is Miley Cyrus, which it originally was when she was releasing her EPs. So I'm shocked about that, but I am so excited about the new title, the new album cover. It looks freaking sick and it's going to be amazing. I know it. I recently just did kind of like a zombie, her singing zombie, a reaction video to the cover. I posted on YouTube, and I am so grateful to all of the great responses I've gotten to that video. It was super fun making, and I just loved that performance. Unfortunately, YouTube did block it, so a lot of it has now been muted because of copyright claims and whatnot. But it is still up, so be sure to check that out if you want a good laugh. But yeah, I'm not going to chat too much before today's episode. I do want to announce, though, that in 2 weeks' time, or even next week, I'm not 100% sure when I'm going to release it, but a plant-based series is coming. So I am releasing 6 to 8 episodes of this brand new series. I did make an announcement at the end of last week's episode. So if you missed that episode, definitely go and check that one out with Dr. Sterling. But essentially, this is going to be a 6 to 8 episode series where I am just going to be talking with various people about plant-based topics. So this series is going to be for everybody. All of these episodes can be for everybody. It is not just going to be for vegans or whatnot. It is just going to showcase people's stories around why they've gone plant-based, why they've gone vegan, and how they've felt that they've thrived and how they currently feel that they are thriving on a plant-based and even vegan diet. So it is just going to be a cool little series that I am going to, again, cover numerous topics. I'm covering gut health. I'm covering fitness. I'm covering bodybuilding. I have a doctor that we're going to chat about various myths and things like that. So there is just going to be something for everybody. It is going to be a cool little series, and I cannot wait to release that. I am not 100% sure how it's going to work because there are 6 to 8 episodes. I have not decided yet if I want to release 2 episodes a week or if I want to release 1 episode a week and just keep it like it already has been going. I think last week I made an announcement that I am going to be releasing 2 episodes a week, but I changed my mind there. I don't know. Maybe next week I'll change my mind again. Who knows? But that is coming in the next couple weeks, and I cannot wait to get that out. But today I am going to be talking about biohacking. Now, this is a very, very interesting concept and something that I think in one way or another, a lot of us may already do, but may not know that it is biohacking. I know I have heard of the concept biohacking so many times on Instagram. I've read it places. I think I've watched a few like TV shows where it's come up and whatnot, but I've never understood essentially what biohacking was. So today I am talking with Brittany, and she is essentially going to be talking us through biohacking and various ways that people biohack in their daily lives. So I hope you all enjoy today's episode and let's get into it. Alrighty. Hello, Brittany, and welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, no worries. Now, Brittany, if you didn't mind starting by just introducing yourself to all of the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Brittany Ford. I am a registered holistic nutritionist by trade, and a biohacker by, me just calling myself that. And yeah, so I primarily work online and work with clients one on one to help them understand nutrition better and become healthier. And I also work with other health businesses as well in various ways, like health content creation, software, and some other things like that.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, the reason why I wanted to have you on the show was because of this concept of biohacking. I know I personally have heard it everywhere. I've heard it all the time, but I've never really understood what exactly it entailed. And I believe I did like a Google search or whatnot, but there's so many like, different definitions of what it is and whatnot. So, did you mind maybe getting started by discussing what biohacking is essentially?
Yeah, absolutely. So I define biohacking by saying it's holistic self care for optimal health.
Okay.
And basically, what that means is that instead of only looking at a particular like aspect that might influence our health, like fitness or nutrition, biohacking really looks at everything as a whole and looks at you as a whole, as a person. So it takes into account your sleep and your stress and your environment and your relationships and all of these little things that really make you you and either are promoting you to be healthier or
Right.
are slowly deteriorating your health.
Okay.
Um, and so it's kind of like this idea of, yeah, just looking at your life and yourself holistically and aiming to be healthier. Now, of course, like perfect health does not exist,
Right.
especially in our society,
Yeah.
but we can definitely, there is a lot that we can do to become healthier versions of ourselves.
Right. Okay. So, would the concept of biohacking or would this kind of definition differ from people? Because I know, like health, for example, just health in general, I think what everybody thinks is healthy is different compared to one another. So, can biohacking look different from person to person?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Like people have different definitions of it.
Okay.
Some people like to include various like techniques and technologies and things in their definition.
Right.
But really, I feel like the ultimate goal of biohacking is the same
Okay.
in terms of reaching optimal health.
Right.
And
Right.
it's just people kind of go about it in different ways.
Okay. So I
Mhm.
know you're saying that you're a nutritionist, and I'm sure you went to school for that and all of that. How did biohacking kind of come into play, or when did you first learn about this concept?
Yeah. So I had health issues for quite a while when I was younger
Okay.
and kind of discovered natural health and alternative
Right.
health
Right.
before biohacking, um, before the wellness trend, really, like
Right.
before Instagram, like any
Yeah.
of that, um, and kind of went down this road of like seeing a naturopath and seeing a nutritionist myself and getting
Mm,
tested and really fell in love with natural health.
right.
Went to school and then went to the corporate world and then went to school again to study nutrition. And then it was 2 or 3 years ago, I kind of realized that even if I have the perfect diet that's suited for my genetics and my lifestyle and everything like that, like it's still not enough to actually be healthy and live a long, healthy life into my 60s, 70s, 80s one day.
Right.
And so when I kind of had that realization that like no matter like I need to be looking at my sleep, I need to be looking at my stress and my environment. I kind of found biohacking or it found me or whatever. um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I just kind of like loved the term and hopped on the bandwagon. And now it's definitely becoming more mainstream. I don't think it's super mainstream yet, but it's definitely increasing in popularity, which is really cool.
Yeah, cool. So, maybe to get a little bit better of a picture of what it actually is, do you mind maybe sharing some things that you may incorporate into your life that is kind of considered biohacking?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So there's different places that I can take this. So, for me, sleep is a big thing. So if we
Right.
talk about sleep, I used to wake up multiple times throughout the night. Get up, go to the bathroom, or whatever I would do,
Yeah.
and really thought I was sleeping okay, but
Yeah.
realized that my sleep actually wasn't that good.
Okay.
And so I started playing around with it and seeing what can I do to sleep better and be more refreshed.
Right.
So some biohacking things that I do is like I have an Aura ring that tracks my sleep data, so I can
Okay.
actually look at the analytics and understand um, what is impacting my sleep and have the feedback. So
Right.
it's like the idea of like quantifying yourself. And then I also like turn my computer off at a certain time of day and turn my phone off, and unplug my Wi-Fi and, do all of these
Right.
things
Yeah.
because like I live in an apartment and I'm surrounded by Wi-Fi routers and surrounded
Right.
by electronics
Yeah.
right now. And so that radiation and that EMF really can affect you. Um,
Right.
so I really work on, turning those types of things off, putting on my blue blocking glasses at night so that the light doesn't impact my sleep and affect my hormones and keep me up
Mm,
longer. Um,
right.
and really just like doing these types of practices that help me get into deeper sleep and sleep longer. And it works. Like I don't wake
Right.
up throughout the night now. I go to sleep, I fall asleep in under 10 minutes. I
Yeah.
don't toss and turn. And through like experimentation, I've been able to realize, okay, this works for me and this doesn't. And that's really what biohacking is.
Right. Yeah. And I was just gonna ask. So I'm sure there is a lot of experimentation and I guess reflection revolved around what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's different for everyone, right?
Right.
So what might work for me might not work for you. Um,
Right.
in general, like biohacking for sleep is kind of the same for a lot of people,
Right.
but
Okay.
if like biohacking for stress or your environment
Yeah.
is probably different for a lot of people. Like if I do a yoga class and feel super good after, and you do a yoga class, like you might
Mm-hmm.
hate it and be like,
Yeah.
I'm more stressed now, or
Yeah.
like, like so those types of things you really have to play around with and figure out what works for you.
Okay. All right. Now, how does biohacking come into play with your nutrition? I'm super interested in that.
Yeah, so I mean, nutrition is obviously a major factor into your
Yeah.
health.
Yeah.
It really builds the body and or it deteriorates it, right? And so there are biohacking practices that can help with that. So like obviously intermittent fasting is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's technically, a biohack.
Okay.
And which is like choosing to eat during a certain period of time and choosing not to eat during a different period of time.
Right.
um, so or even like monthly fasts that are longer, which can be really great, or yearly fasts,
Yeah.
would be biohacking with nutrition.
Right.
Another example would be choosing when you stop eating at night, because otherwise it can impact your sleep.
Mm.
So for me, like I stop eating about 2 hours before I go to sleep,
Okay.
minimum, because
Right.
otherwise like I will be energized when I try to go to
Yeah.
bed. And
Yeah.
like if I eat, not that I eat really a bowl of cereal, but if I eat a bowl of cereal at like 10 p.m. and go to sleep at
Yeah.
10:15, it's not really going to work for
Yeah.
me. Like, um, so yeah, so there's like things like that like the timing of meals is very biohacking,
Mm.
which is very interesting. And you can definitely play around a lot with that.
Okay. Now, I like you just mentioned intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Just went blank for a second. Now I've done intermittent fasting and I think it's a cool concept, but like when you think of biohacking, I wasn't sure that intermittent fasting kind of fall under that category. But what about things like diets, for example? So like the keto
Mm.
diet and all of that, because I know fad diets is such a huge concept to people, and people like to try all of these diets. um does that fall into biohacking, or is that kind of its own little thing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like so I think the keto world and the biohacking world have a lot of overlap. Same with like the paleo world as
Right.
well. Like a lot of the key authority people in those fields are, you know, friends
Yeah.
and all overlaps.
Yeah.
Um, so I can kind of see where that comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the idea of fad dieting or even dieting in itself, I mean, it can be useful. It can be a biohack in terms of if you have a specific health condition and you are going low carb because it's been proven that low carb can help with that health condition
Yeah.
for a temporary amount of time. So maybe like 90 days or something. That could be a biohack. But
Right.
I think like
Okay.
fad diets in terms of like uh, celery juice or like all of
Yeah.
these like weird fad things that come and go.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if those are biohacking because
Mm.
it's just a very like influencer driven
Right. Right.
trend that might
Yeah.
not actually have a lot of research behind it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and the other thing with dieting is like you have to be really careful because like two things. Like one, a lot of people don't do well with a lot of diets, especially women.
Mm.
And even with intermittent fasting. So women don't really do well with intermittent fasting unless
Right.
they are postmenopausal.
Mm.
Um, and it can decrease your fertility and delay ovulation and all of these things that are coming out now because it's too stressful on the female body. Uh,
Right.
so you have to be careful with that. And then the other thing is like dieting in itself in the Western culture can be very triggering for a lot of people.
Okay.
Um, in terms of like the word diet and the
Yeah.
idea of like restriction so that you can weigh less, so that you can look better, and like that type of thing, that type of
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
Yeah.
Um, I would say like that train of thought of like weight loss diets is not really biohacking,
Okay.
but I think like diets that are for a specific health condition
Yeah.
um, could be probably biohacking.
Right. Okay. Now, biohacking, how does that come into play with exercise?
Yeah, I mean it's similar, right? Like biohacking is probably like an umbrella, and like
Okay.
exercise and
Mm.
nutrition are like all these like
Right.
pillars underneath
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Um, So, I mean, you know, HIT, like high intensity interval training, is definitely a biohack.
Yeah.
The idea of doing like the minimum effective dosage of exercise to get the best results is a biohack for
Right.
sure. So,
Okay.
like, yeah, like sprinting for 90 seconds and then walking for 30 seconds and doing like 5 sets of that
Mm.
compared to going on a 45-minute jog. Like that type of thinking is definitely biohacking because it, you know, it looks at the science and says like there's a lot more benefit to doing HIT on the body. Um,
Right.
and it's, you know, like I said, like the minimum effective dosage for the best results. So yeah, I mean, it definitely overlaps, and it definitely one impacts the other, and vice versa.
Right. And I really like what you just mentioned, and how doing a hit class, for example, using or finding all the benefits there, and that being a biohack versus a 45-minute jog, for example. Because I think it's some people listening to this might confuse it and be like, oh, well, biohacking's like finding easy ways for you to get ahead or something like that,
Mm,
right? Where it's not
mm.
necessarily like that, I'm sure. Or is it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the word hacking feels like a
Yeah.
shortcut, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but the thing is we have to kind of be realistic about things too. So the average person, the average adult
Yeah.
who is working Monday to Friday, maybe 9 to 5, maybe is in a relationship, has a family, doesn't necessarily have the time or the
Hmm.
means to
Yeah.
really get deep into their health
Yeah.
and take
Okay.
responsibility for their health and really understand nutrition and exercise and sleep and all of these things.
Right.
So the idea of like a hack really comes into play for those types of people, because it's like,
Right.
hey, by doing this thing, you're going to be able to get this result in an easier effort or a shorter amount of time.
Right.
But there's science behind it and it's proven. So it's
Right.
not necessarily some like cheap ass shortcut that you're
Yeah.
just trying to like perform better or look better or something like that. It's like, no, this is really going to help you if you do this every day for 5 minutes. This is what
Right.
it can do, type of idea.
Right. Okay. So yeah, those are very good points. Cause yeah, when I was listening before, I think for me it was like, okay, well, this just sounds like a shortcut. But no, I really liked how it's a hack for those people that are like at work. I know yesterday at school, yesterday, I had like a case study. This patient came in and he was very adamant that he worked full time. He did basketball. He had two kids. He had this and that, and he didn't have time for any physio exercise or anything like that. So I think that's when like a concept like biohacking may come into play, which is good to know there. But I'm curious to start. Where do people start, um, or how can people start incorporating biohacking into their life?
Yeah. Yeah. I get this question a lot.
Yeah.
I think there's, I think typically what I say to people is that before you like buy any, you know, gadget or I don't know, sign up with any type of coach or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, I think the first step is to really become more self-aware.
Mm,
Um, I think a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of the state of their health.
right.
And it's either through lack of education or it's through ignorance. And
Right.
so people, people kind of, you as you get older, people start saying things like, oh, my back hurts. Oh, it's old
Yeah.
age. Or, oh, I'm
Yeah.
tired in the morning and I need 3 cups of coffee. But you know what? I'm in my 40s and that's what's expected of me. Or there's kind of this idea that you get older, your health deteriorates and it's normal and there's nothing you can do about it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just how it goes.
Right.
But there's you like becoming more self-aware of your symptoms, of how you actually feel and what you think can be, is like the most important thing. Because if you're going to look into biohacking or working with some sort of healthcare professional, they're going to ask you all of these questions, and
Yeah.
you really got to look at like, how is your digestion, how are your bowel movements, how's your skin, how's your sleep, are you super stressed, like is your heart rate racing all day before you get home and sit in front of the TV. Like really looking at your body and looking at yourself for where you are now, and like with no judgment, right? Like no
Yeah.
like, wow, I wish I was healthier, like none of that, because like we've all been there.
Yeah.
But just kind of like this awareness so that you can see it and then make the next step and actually do something about it, because you understand yourself a lot better.
Right. Okay. So there's probably a lot of steps to it. So, do you recommend somebody kind of seeing a coach, signing up with someone if they want to kind of incorporate these things? Or are there good online resources? Where can people kind of look for tips and tricks essentially?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, there's some great books out there now, that are coming out, um, which is
Okay.
a good place to start for a lot of people.
Right.
Um, if you don't want to buy a book, like you could message somebody online or email
Mm-hmm.
somebody, I think is
Yeah.
a good place to start.
Right.
Like someone like myself, or there's a lot of other people out there as well.
Yeah.
Um, and then if you are having like these symptoms that you really struggle with, so say it's something with your skin or digestion, and it's kind of persistent and you notice it's like months on end,
Yeah.
that's when I would say like, okay, book a discovery call, book a session with somebody and get an expert, because it might be out of your realm to really remedy what's going on for yourself.
Right.
Um, and there's so many people online now. I mean, we really have access to a lot, like basically everybody.
Yeah.
So there's experts really for any sort of condition now, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So really find somebody who speaks to you, and I
Right.
think that can be really helpful for most people.
Okay. And now, like, I'm also getting the sense that people may need to be aware that it's not probably like a quick fix. Like you incorporating these changes probably takes a lot of reflection, probably takes a lot of changes. You working with someone, maybe you doing something and it not working and then trying something else. So for people kind of wanting a quick fix, what type of advice would you give those people?
Yeah. So, I mean, we all want a quick fix, right?
Yeah.
Like we all want to just like pop this like magical pill that's going to make us super healthy
Yeah.
and youthful and like everything like that. But it's just not possible, you know? So, yeah, I think that a lot of the time it can take months to fix something,
Right.
or get to the root cause of it and
Yeah.
then heal it.
Yeah.
So for myself, like there's things in the past that I've healed, like when I had gut health issues, that actually took me a couple years to heal.
Right.
Um,
It's like a chain reaction.
yeah, it's like a chain reaction.
Right.
But there's some other things that can take 3 months or 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it also depends on your dedication to it, right? Like
Uh-huh.
when I first started trying to heal my gut, when I was a teenager, like I was still partying every weekend
Mm-hmm.
and drinking Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
And so, like, obviously, it was going to take 2 years to fix my gut
Yeah.
when I was drinking all the time.
Yeah.
um, so it depends on your dedication to it and how much you're really ready to take responsibility for yourself and for your health.
Okay. Now, I'm super interested in the gut health. I think it's a concept that I think it's becoming more and more mainstream, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I see it all the time, like on Instagram and all of these probiotics and this and that, and work on your gut health. This supplement will do this supplement will do that. But if you don't mind, maybe because I know gut health is such a huge topic and we could probably spend hours on it. But if you don't mind, maybe sharing a few things that maybe you did when starting to work on
Mm.
your gut health? Like, what are just some easy things that you kind of needed to change? And again, I know could probably spend all day on this, but
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. So something that I actually have on my website or people can, it's on my Instagram as well. I have something called the morning gut elixir.
okay.
And so it's kind of this idea of taking lemon, ginger, aloe vera,
Okay.
cayenne pepper, and some other ingredients, and really creating this sort of like tonic slash elixir that really helps with digestion because it stimulates digestive juices in the
Right.
morning, helps with detoxing, helps heal any leaky gut or
Mm,
anything like that. And so I like sending that to people because it's an easy place to start.
yeah.
It's just a recipe and you make it in the morning and have it on an empty stomach.
Yeah.
Um, and it's rooted in what I found was helpful for me. So when I was dealing with leaky gut a while ago,
Hmm.
I really needed ingredients like aloe vera juice to heal my gut and
Right.
close the gaps that were forming, which was causing a lot of inflammation in my body.
Mm,
So I like suggesting that. Another thing I also think is great for gut health is digestive enzymes.
okay.
And I just recorded a podcast about this yesterday, but
Yeah.
um, a lot of our food is processed and cooked, and a lot of the like enzymes that we need to actually break down the components of food are stripped out of them.
Okay.
So using a supplement like digestive enzymes and having them with every meal can really help break down food faster
Mm,
and reduce inflammation and protein fermentation and some other issues that can occur.
right.
Um, I definitely don't recommend like a raw food diet, but
Yeah.
I think that digestive enzymes can help move things through the body faster in a healthy way.
Okay.
And they're really, really great for people who deal with bloating
Yeah.
and a lot of gas in their stomach. So
Okay.
whether like it's burping or whatever it is, or even like irregular bowel movements,
Right.
which is an issue for a lot of people, looking at how you're digesting your food is huge.
Yeah.
It's so, so important. And so digestive enzymes can be a very, very key factor into helping that.
And how do people choose? Like, when you're going to the store, I know when I was in Vancouver, I would always get like a probiotic from Whole Foods, or I'd go to Body Energy Club or something, but there'd be like an entire fridge full with them, some of them ranging from $15, some of them like $50. How do you choose which one? Like, I know some people may think, oh, well, this one's $50, so it must be the greatest, or it must be the better one. I'm gonna get that. Whereas like me, when I purchased them back then, like I was a full-time student, I did not have $50 to spend. So where where do people start when looking at a label?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a good question. So what I suggest in terms of this is try like assuming that you know some of the
Yeah,
brands, um, I recommend like going with the brand that you
right.
trust rather than the product, or like looking at the price
Okay.
point. So I think it's really helpful to, um, like if you know like a brand like Thorn or Bulletproof or whatever brand
Yeah,
you like, and you see that they have a digestive enzyme and you trust them and their ingredients, like that is kind of the best way to go about
right.
it. And that's how I make my decisions. Now of course, like read the ingredients, and if it contains something that you're skeptical of, still
Yeah,
don't get it. Like if it has like soy in it or something, I don't know, that you
right.
don't like or might be allergic to, like be aware of that. But for me it's like brand recognition is the only way to really go about
Mm,
things. um, Another thing that you could do is look at reviews online. That can be really helpful to like see what other people are saying about the
right.
products. um, but now it's kind of, you kind of have to be careful because people are paying for
Yeah,
reviews, right?
yeah.
Like people are paying for like Amazon reviews, so that's higher up in the ranking and all sorts of things. So I'm kind of skeptical
Yeah,
with that. Um, or like reach out to a healthcare
yeah,
professional, like message me or message your
yeah.
nutritionist and say, hey, what do you think about this
Hmm.
brand? Do you like it? Like I get those a
Right,
lot. And like I know probably the top 10, 20
right.
brands. But doesn't mean if I don't know the brand you send me, it doesn't mean it's
Yeah,
not good. So like I can like go on the website, read the ingredients, read
right.
how it's made, etc., and be like, yes, that's good, you can get that, or no, this is
Yeah.
what I recommend.
Okay, cool. Now, do you mind speaking a little about what your podcast is about? Maybe plug it in there and where people can find you on social media?
Yeah. So my podcast is Biohacking with Brittany. Um, it is, yeah, it kind of comes and goes. I started it last year, and then I started my business this year, and my business has been my focus.
Right.
And so I started my podcast up again this past summer. And now I'm trying to put out an episode every week or every other week.
Okay.
And yeah, I just interview people based, and we just talk about health and wellness and biohacking, and um, really like honest, raw conversations
Right.
about those types of topics. It's
Mm-hmm.
not very curated or anything like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, on social media, Biohacking Brittany is my handle everywhere. Um, and biohackingbrittany.com is my website. And yeah.
Cool. Alrighty. And I will post all of those in the show notes, everyone. So be sure to check all of that out. But I thank you so much for taking the time to be on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Yeah, no worries. Alrighty, everyone. That is it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for giving today's episode a listen. I definitely appreciate all of you listeners, and I appreciate the support and the feedback I'm getting back every week. I do want to announce, though, or not announce, just let you know. I always say announce, but I did create an Instagram for the show. So the Instagram is Jordan KKS Show. So Jordan kind of knows something show. This will be from now on the kind of Instagram and the place that I will post all updates about the show, updates about all of the upcoming guests, all past guests, news, things about just the show in general, and things like that. So be sure to go to Instagram and give that a follow. I, of course, have Facebook for the show. Just, I think it's the Jordan Kind of Knows Something show, where if you're on Facebook and not Instagram, then you can go there. But those are kind of the two social media kind of accounts that I have for the show, where again, I will just be posting all updates and announcements and things in regards to the show, such as like, I don't know, if there's going to be no episode during a week for whatever reason, or if I'm posting 2 episodes, or any news about a guest or this and that. So yeah, definitely go and give those a follow. They are kind of where everything is going to be at. Thank you all for listening again, and I will talk to you all next week.